So installing our new stainless steel exhaust. This is from an E36 M3. It's got smaller pipes on the output, but that's okay because these were neck down anyway. So we're just basically staying with that diameter in order to improve back pressure, because these 2.5 millimeter dual all the way out was just too much for this engine. I think it created a droning noise. So what we got here is we have a stainless steel M3 exhaust. It's a much bigger muffler than this guy right here, this MagnaFlow, and it's gonna be a lot less drony. The problem is that it doesn't fit in the center. And the reason is because the side of the muffler is hitting the chassis over here, and that's not good. So what we need to do is cut the muffler, weld a patch on, thin it out, and then it'll fit right into place where we want it without sacrificing anything other than maybe just a little bit of fab time.
Or I can hammer that back, if you prefer.
Let's see. All right, so Dan has cut this out, and there is a baffle in here. So that baffle too, as you can see there, kind of protrudes out. So we gotta slim that down. When we do, we're gonna clean this up, and then we're gonna take this as it is right now and put it back in the car and see how centered it is. And if it's nice and centered, then what we're gonna do is do two pieces of stainless steel, one here and one here. That way, we maintain the baffling, and we're gonna have a weld line right in the center where obviously is not one here, but you can kind of see the tacks right there. But anyway, that's what we're gonna do, and that's it. Oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And we only had to modify that much. So it's close, it's about a finger width away here, and this is still kind of touching. So now all we need to do is, Dan, why don't you bring that down just a hair, bring the pneumatic jack down. And, oh, no, keep on going. So that now we can bring it back down enough without the exhaust actually hanging from the headers, of course, but we can lean it down just enough to make modifications, pump it back up into place, and then when we feel like it's in the perfect spot, then we can take the whole thing off again and make our tacks. One of the things that a lot of shops would not recognize when they take in a car like this, like from an enthusiast perspective, is that these fog lights do not have little plugs in them, and they are in LA, and they go and they're not obtainable anymore. But I was able to find a couple of, actually a whole bunch of these with specific dimensions, and they literally just snap right in. There's a little bit of a detent here, and that kind of sits inside of the glass to prevent it from popping out. And now you have a nice OEM look for your E30, especially with those fog lights. Customers stated that the ABS wires and the brake pad sensor wires were all frayed. The insulation cracks over time and hardens, and it reveals this 2-wire loop here. So we're gonna be replacing that with 1/8 inch loom, which just clips on here, and you just tape it every 10 to 12 inches. So we are doing that right now, and the customer can have good confidence to know that the wires are not going to be frayed in any way. Loom is installed. Very clean. All right, we got our exhaust reinstalled, and Dan's going to start it up and see how this thing sounds with the new muffler on it. Expecting it to be a little quieter. Got a brake light to fix. Oh, actually, I took that tail light out because we're doing the antenna. Oh, wow. Much quieter. Much quieter, right? Yeah. Dan, load the engine a little bit by reversing it. And then keep the brake on it. All right, let it go. And it didn't come back to 1800, right?
Right, idle control valve's kicking in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
There you go.
Might be an ICV thing. Okay. Back it up and let's park it.
So here we go with the painting. So yeah, the hood actually was not in good condition. There were a lot of specks and a lot of dirt, fisheye in the paint that was just glossed over and cleared over. So we're replacing it with new Diamond Schwartz 181 base clear. So we're cleaning up the whole hood now and laying our epoxy primer, and then we use like a tack cloth to clean all the deburr type of debris, and then we start laying down our base. And again, this is a metallic 181 Diamond Schwartz paint that we matched to the best of our ability. And came out pretty good. As you can see here, that's the first coat of base, and then we put a first coat of clear on there, and then we got our second coat of clear there, and then we started our sanding, and then we used our 3M Perfected kit to literally just go on ahead and start polishing. And you have to be really careful around the corners, but it turned out good. We got our buff and polish, and the thing looks amazing. It really did really come together. Really good job. Tint Condition did a great job getting this thing prepped. And then we started putting our badge on here. And, this is just going back to the 325i badge. So, we had an OEM one from the customer. We just took the... And obviously, a cleaning of the ICV is always necessary, and now it moves freely. And now came to the big one, and this is the transmission. The clutch was very sticky, and we didn't understand why. So we're looking at this thing, and we take the whole throwout bearing out, and we can see the throwout bearing is in great shape. The problem is with the sleeve. That guide tube literally was worn out, and it was the coating on it was worn down to metal, and it made the engagement, even with lube, it made the engagement very sticky, if you will. So it didn't just glide nice and normally on that. So no matter what throwout bearing we put on that sleeve, on the transmission input on the transmission input shaft, it was binding. So it really was, we just need to replace that sleeve. And you can see as we get a closer look at it that you can see the marks on it where the metal actually wore off. I'll have to have a better picture of that here coming up in a minute. But yeah, that sleeve very easily removable. Just those 4 T5 bolts, and then the thing just slides right on out. Let me take a look at that. Look at that shiny metal, So yeah, now we just put the new one on, and it's nice. It slides nice and good now. So the clutch engagement in first gear should be really, really good. We also replaced the flywheel and the pressure plate in the clutch while we were at it too. Let's talk sunroofs. So yeah, we were doing a very simple replacement of just the seal. So this is actually the old 2-piece seal that was on here, and we're replacing it with a single piece. Single piece is just better overall on the sunroof because it's one less spot for leaks, and you have to remove the sunroof anyway to reinstall, whether it's the 2-piece or the 1-piece anyway. So we just did the 1-piece. Get that little spot there. There we go. Good, got it. So yeah, this is it. This is done, and then you just basically take it and you put it right back on those guides. So you got to get all those torques in really loose, but I'll just let this other guy talk about it.
You want to put them all in nice and loose before you tighten any one of them. And then after that, it's just trial and error to make sure that we got it seated correctly. Then, when you have it adjusted, you slide this guy back as far forward as you can, because there's a little tray on the back side here, and this little tray, when you bring the sunroof back down, the edge of the sunroof needs to sit in that tray so that it can drag it back. That's very, very important you do that. So what I'm gonna do is this. All right, so I got this thing on these guys now, and this is as far pushed forward as possible. Now this tray is gonna sit inside of this little guide. Okay, now this is still loose. So as I pull this back, it now exposes this. It's buttons, or this little clips, and then you just push them in. All right, so now one last thing I wanted to do on this thing before we finish up here is to upgrade the cooling fan. Now this is the old cooling fan here. It was a little 12-incher. We're upgrading to a 16-inch SPAL pusher fan. It'll be used to cool the car during AC events, and also, of course, to make the car run generally cooler, which was something that I struggled with during the test drive. Okay, so now I got the fan kind of rigged up there and plugged in. I just want to make sure that it's going to spin the right way. So if I were to jump these two wires, and I have to turn the ignition on, I'm expecting that fan spins, and it spins in the right direction. All right, so it's spinning now. Looks like it's spinning the right direction, but this is a puller fan, not a pusher fan. So I actually need to get a pusher fan so it is spinning in that correct direction, because right now, this fan is not being as efficient as it should be. You can't just spin a puller fan in the reverse direction and expect it to work the CFMs that it should. So we actually need a pusher fan in this application, but a 16-inch will work just fine. So here we actually have a pusher fan being used as a pusher fan. In fact, you can see it's got curved blades, which is more efficient and moves more air, and it's also 16-inch. So we had an 11-inch puller fan being used as a pusher. We're actually increasing our effectivity of cooling way, way better with this setup. Way better. And there it is, the monster inside. This thing is gonna get adequately cooled now. So guys, that's just about it for this car. This 89 325i imported from Japan. This Bring a Trailer car is now that much better. It's got that much more robustness and reliability built into it from all the work that we've done over the last couple months. I hope that my customer is satisfied, and I hope that you guys learned something too by working on this thing. Let's take a look and see some before and afters. So the car is delivered, right? You can tell it's not here in this space. But that wasn't without a lot of challenges. This morning, the morning of delivery, when the truck was here to pick up the car and deliver it to the customer in Virginia, and I get in the car and it won't start. Last night, everything worked perfect, and now it didn't start. But why? Well, you turn the key, it would physically not go into the start position. So there was some sort of blockage, some break in the tumbler in the ignition assembly, and the key is not going into the start position. In fact, it's not even going into the ACC position. So there's something that happened with the tumbler overnight or this morning when I'm trying to start it, and it's not working. So I had to disassemble it while the truck driver was waiting for me to load this thing on the car. I used a screwdriver on the back side of the tumbler and turned the key, and everything worked just fine. But it just goes to show that with these types of cars, you really don't know what you're gonna come across, and most importantly, even on the day of delivery. Now, we don't talk about our failures very much on YouTube. We actually like to edit them out so we look as good as possible. But I actually wanted to exemplify my failures and let you know that nothing is perfect. And all these YouTube channels, people just mess up, or things that happen that are out of their control, and the whole spectrum in between. And what do you do in these situations? How do you make a customer whole on something that happened the day of delivery that was never even discussed or even a problem for 30 years? I don't understand how and why these things happen, but they do. And I think that as a person, as a business, what really sets us apart is how we react to it. How do we rectify that with the customer, and how do we make things better? So, Scott, I think you're really going to enjoy the car. Me and you will work on this offline, and we'll get this car working. But yeah, I'm really sorry that this happened. I failed, and in the future, we're going to end up doing some great things together on future projects, and I look forward to it. So that's all I got. And on to the next, right? On to the next. Learn from the mistakes, learn from the things that you can't anticipate. However you can figure out how to do that, you let me know, and we will, just get better from it. So that's it for me. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching, and Scott, enjoy the car.